Whispers have turned into wildfire, and the latest storm brewing around the cast has everyone talking. Reports claim that Ty has dropped something so explosive, so unsettling, that even the most seasoned fans are struggling to process it. A late-night clip allegedly featuring Evelyn and Chantel has suddenly surfaced online. And the chaos it sparked behind the scenes is unlike anything we've seen before. The clip itself remains shrouded in mystery. But insiders are suggesting it captured a moment that should never have left the shadows. The timing of its release is what truly set Evelyn off just when she was working to rebuild her image and distance herself from scandals. Ty comes forward with this alleged footage, fanning flames of suspicion and betrayal. Social media erupted. Within minutes, with fans split down the middle, some demanded answers, while others accused Ty of crossing an unforgivable line. And then, in the middle of this storm, Evelyn snapped. What followed, according to multiple accounts, was an outburst that left the set in total shock, and the relationships between these women hanging by a thread. The question, now is simple: what really happened in that late-night clip? And why did Ty choose this exact moment to bring it into the light? The whispers around Ty's explosive move began quietly, like a spark on dry ground, but within hours, the flames had spread everywhere. What she allegedly revealed wasn't just another rumor, it was something that threatened to shake the core of relationships already strained by tension, jealousy, and mistrust. The supposed late-night clip featuring Evelyn and Chantal wasn't some casual moment of friendship, at least not in the way it was presented. Insiders whispered that the way Ty framed it made it look like a meeting meant to be hidden, something that carried an air of secrecy, intimacy, and perhaps betrayal. When the story first hit social media, the reaction was immediate and vicious. Fans flooded timelines with questions, memes, and outrage. Some claimed Ty was being petty and vindictive, looking for attention at any cost. Others felt betrayed by Evelyn, insisting that if there was any truth to this, then her image of control and strength had been nothing but a facade. The reactions grew even wilder when a few seconds of the alleged clip were described by anonymous sources' dim lighting, hushed voices, and the unmistakable presence of both women in a setting that didn't match the polished image they usually presented to the world behind the cameras. Cast members were thrown into chaos. Ty had always been known for stirring the pot, but this time she seemed to have gone beyond instigating drama. She had touched a nerve that went far deeper. Evelyn, who had been holding on to her composure through weeks of subtle digs and veiled accusations, finally lost it. Her anger wasn't just about what was leaked, but about how it was being weaponized. She felt cornered, betrayed, not just by Ty, but by the entire atmosphere of suspicion that now followed her every move. The tension came to a head during a group gathering that was meant to be routine, just another moment for the cameras. As soon as Ty walked in, all eyes shifted. The whispers in the room were palpable, and everyone knew something explosive was about to unfold. Evelyn, already pacing with tightly folded arms, locked her gaze on Ty. Without hesitation, her voice cut through the murmurs like a blade. "You really think you can destroy me with this nonsense?" she said, her tone trembling with barely restrained fury. Ty didn't flinch. She leaned back casually in her chair, sipping her drink, and replied with calculated calmness. "Destroy you? No. But expose you? Maybe." The room fell into silence, every cast member frozen as if afraid to even breathe. Chantal, who until then had kept her distance, shifted uncomfortably, her face betraying a mix of guilt and anxiety. She hadn't expected Ty to go this far, and now the entire weight of suspicion hung over her too. "Don't drag me into this mess," Chantal muttered under her breath, but Evelyn heard it, and her fury redirected instantly. "You think I don't see what's going on?" Evelyn snapped, pointing directly at Chantal. You think I don't know what people are saying about us? You should have shut this down the second it started, but you didn't. You let it grow, and now look what's happening, Chantel tried to defend herself, insisting she had nothing to do with the leak and that Ty was the one twisting everything. But the damage was already done. The way Evelyn spoke, the way her voice cracked between rage and desperation, revealed that this wasn't just about a clip. This was about trust, image, and the fragile web of alliances that held the cast together. Friends and associates watching from the sidelines were stunned. Some whispered that Evelyn's reaction only made her look more guilty, while others sympathized, pointing out that anyone would snap under this kind of pressure. The division among them mirrored the division among fans online, and soon the narrative took on a life of its own. Hashtags trended, debates raged, and suddenly everyone had an opinion about what the late-night meeting really meant. In the midst of the chaos, Ty played her part with unsettling ease. She didn't scream, she didn't raise her voice, she simply smirked, as if satisfied with the turmoil she had unleashed. When asked directly why she chose to bring this out now, her response was cryptic, but cutting. Truth has its own timing, she said, leaving everyone guessing whether this was about justice, revenge, or sheer entertainment. What made the situation worse was how other members of the circle started pulling away. One by one, people who had once been close to Evelyn began to distance themselves, afraid of being caught in the crossfire. Jackie, always vocal in moments like these, commented from the sidelines that secrets don't stay hidden forever, a statement that only added fuel to the fire. As the night dragged on, the energy in the room shifted from shock to raw hostility. Evelyn, unable to contain herself any longer, lashed out physically, not in a calculated move, but in a burst of pent-up rage. Security and producers rushed in immediately, pulling her back before anything irreversible could happen. But the image of her snapping in front of everyone was already etched in the minds of those present. Ty, unfazed, sat there with a cold smile, knowing she had pushed Evelyn to her breaking point. Chantel, meanwhile, sat in stunned silence, realizing her name had now become part of a scandal she had no control over. The silence that followed was heavy, suffocating, and it left everyone wondering just how far this feud was about to go. What made this moment so unforgettable wasn't just the shouting or the accusations, but the way emotions spilled out like they had been building for years. Evelyn's vulnerability, usually hidden behind a tough exterior, was now on full display. And Ty's ability to exploit that weakness cemented her role as the instigator. Everyone either loved or hated by the time the gathering ended. Alliances had shifted, reputations were shaken, and the tension had reached a point of no return. Evelyn stormed out, her voice echoing as she shouted, "This isn't over," while Ty calmly adjusted her jacket and walked away as if she had won a battle she had been planning all along. The others were left in stunned silence, grappling with the fallout of a night that none of them would ever forget. The air after Evelyn stormed out was thick with unease, almost suffocating. The cast who had witnessed the blow-up stayed frozen, in place, unsure whether to comfort Chantal, confront Ty, or simply pretend nothing happened. Chantal sat slumped in her chair, her face pale, her hands trembling slightly as she kept mumbling, "I didn't do anything. It isn't my fault." But no one seemed ready to reassure her, not even those who had once been closest to her. Everyone understood that being linked to this scandal, no matter how unfairly, could change everything. Ty, however, seemed to thrive in the silence she had created. She slowly stood up, her smirk never fading, and addressed the group like she had just delivered some twisted sermon. "I didn't make this up," she said, her tone chillingly calm. I didn't force anyone into that room. All I did was shine a light on what people were trying to keep in the dark." The way she said it, with such certainty, sent shivers down the spines of those listening. Jackie, always eager to step into the center of drama, finally broke the silence. "Ty, you love to stir things up, but do you realize what you've just done? This isn't just messy, this is explosive." Evelyn's pride is shattered. Chantel's name is dragged through the mud, and we're all caught in the middle. Are you ready for what comes next? Ty tilted her head, almost amused. I'm ready. But the real question is, are they? She said, motioning toward Chantal. The camera caught Chantal's eyes welling up with tears. She quickly wiped them away, trying to keep her composure. But her silence spoke louder than words. It didn't take long for the fallout to spread beyond that room. Within hours, blogs and gossip pages latched onto the story, dissecting every possible angle. What was in the clip? They asked. Was it just a friendly hangout or something more? The speculation grew by the minute, and with it, so. Did the pressure on everyone involved? Friends of Evelyn tried to defend her, insisting she was being targeted, while others quietly admitted that something about the situation didn't sit right. One insider claimed that Evelyn had been seen leaving a hotel late at night around the same time the clip was supposedly recorded, though no solid proof was given. The rumor added another layer of suspicion that made it impossible for her to escape the narrative being built around her. Evelyn herself went completely silent after the outburst. No posts, no statements, no appearances. And that silence only fueled the fire. Fans were divided, some pleading for her to speak her truth, while others assumed her silence was confirmation of guilt. Chantel, on the other hand, tried to get ahead of the scandal by posting a vague message about loyalty and betrayal. But instead of quelling the rumors, it only invited more questions. The turning point came when the two women were forced to appear. At another event together, the tension was unbearable even before they walked into the same room. Whispers spread instantly. People waiting to see if Evelyn would confront Chantal publicly, or if Chantal would finally fight back. The cameras were ready, the producers almost gleeful at the storm that was about to break. When Evelyn finally arrived, the atmosphere shifted. She didn't speak to anyone, didn't acknowledge the stares. She walked straight toward the bar, ordered a drink, and stood alone, her posture stiff, but her face expressionless. Chantal, sitting across the room, kept her eyes down, fidgeting with her phone. Knowing every glance in her direction was filled with judgment, the silence broke when Ty strolled in, looking every bit like she owned the moment. Without hesitation, she walked to the center of the room and spoke loud enough for everyone to hear. So, are we all going to keep pretending nothing happened? Or are we finally going to talk about it? Her words cut through the tension, pulling every gaze toward her. Evelyn slammed her glass down on the bar, the sound echoing like a gunshot. She turned to face Ty, her voice shaking with anger. You don't get to ruin my life and then act like this is some game. You don't get to drag Chantal into this just because you're bitter, you're pathetic. Ty's smile never wavered. Pathetic? Maybe? But I'm not the one who had to sneak around late at night. I'm not the one who left people asking questions I can't answer. The crowd gasped, the tension hitting its peak. Chantal finally stood, her voice breaking as she tried to defend herself. There was nothing to hide. Nothing happened. This is all being twisted, and you know it. But her words sounded weak against Ty's relentless calmness and Evelyn's volcanic rage. What no one expected, though, was the moment when Chantal suddenly turned to Evelyn and shouted, "You think this is just about Ty? You've treated me like I'm disposable for years, like my reputation doesn't matter. I've always defended you, but where were you when I needed you?" Her voice cracked, tears streaming down her face. And for the first time, Evelyn seemed caught off guard. The confrontation wasn't just about a leaked clip anymore. It was about years of resentment, about alliances built and broken, about trust that had never really existed. The room was electric, filled with raw emotions that no one could have scripted. People whispered to each other, stunned by Chantal's sudden outburst, realizing that maybe the story wasn't as simple as Ty trying to destroy Evelyn. Maybe there were deeper fractures that had been waiting for a moment like this to explode. As security moved in, trying to prevent another physical outburst, the crowd dispersed in murmurs. Some left convinced Evelyn had something to hide. Others believed Chantel's pain was proof that she had been unfairly dragged into a feud that wasn't hers to fight. And Ty, she walked out with that same cold smile, as if she had just orchestrated. The perfect storm. The night ended in confusion, heartbreak, and questions that only grew louder with every passing hour. No one knew how the women would recover from this, or if they even could. But what was certain was that the scandal had reached a level none of them could ever have imagined. The fallout from that explosive night did not fade quietly. If anything, the storm only grew louder as the hours turned into days. Everywhere you looked, people were dissecting every word, every gesture, every silence between Evelyn, Ty, and Chantel. Social media was flooded with clips of the confrontation, slowed down and replayed with captions like, "Watch her eyes here," or "Listen to her tone at this exact moment." Fans debated endlessly, some defending Evelyn as a woman unfairly, targeted others insisting that Chantel's emotional breakdown was proof of something deeper. And then there were those who praised Ty for exposing the truth, even as they admitted her methods were cruel. Behind the scenes, the women themselves were unraveling in different ways. Evelyn locked herself away from the public eye, refusing to attend events, declining interviews, and ignoring the producers who begged her to at least offer a statement. Sources close to her whispered that she was spiraling, unable to trust anyone, convinced that every friend or ally might secretly be feeding information to the blogs. One insider described her as a ticking time bomb, pacing her home at night, replaying every detail of the scandal in her mind. Chantel, meanwhile, tried desperately to reclaim control of her image. She went on live, her eyes red-rimmed, but her voice steady, saying, "I have nothing to hide. This narrative about me is unfair and hurtful. I've always tried to be supportive, and now I'm painted as the villain in someone else's story." While some fans rallied behind her, others picked apart her every word, accusing her of being too vague, too defensive, not emotional enough. Her attempt at damage control only seemed to split public opinion further. And then came Ty. Unlike the other two, she seemed to be enjoying the chaos. She granted sly interviews where she didn't confirm anything but hinted at more to come. Let's just say she told one gossip host with a sly grin, "The clip isn't even the whole story. People haven't seen the real tea yet." Her cryptic remarks sent the rumor mill into overdrive, with everyone speculating about what else she might reveal. The producers of the show saw an opportunity they couldn't resist. They orchestrated a sit-down meeting, hoping to capture the raw emotions on camera and settle, or at least expose, the truth. When the women were finally brought together in a controlled setting, the tension was suffocating. Cameras zoomed in on Evelyn's clenched jaw, Chantel's trembling hands, Ty's smug expression. The moderator tried to start gently, asking Chantel how she felt being dragged into a scandal she insisted had nothing to do with her. Chantel's voice cracked as she answered, "I feel betrayed. Feel humiliated. I've always been loyal, and now I'm paying for something I didn't even do." Her tears felt genuine, but Ty leaned forward, smirking. "Loyal, really? Because loyal. People don't sneak around behind closed doors. Loyal people don't get caught up in late-night situations that look a little too cozy." Evelyn's face flushed crimson, her eyes burning holes into Ty. "You're disgusting," she spat. "You twist everything just to make yourself relevant. Chantel is innocent in all of this. But you don't care who you destroy as long as you're in the headlines." But Chantel, surprisingly, didn't look grateful for the defense. Instead, she turned toward Evelyn, her voice rising. "Innocent. Do you know how it feels to have my name dragged because of your mess? You act like I'm protected, but I'm the one drowning while you hide in silence." The room erupted. For a moment, no one could tell if Chantel's anger was directed at Ty for spreading lies or at Evelyn for failing to shield her from the fallout. The two women locked eyes, years of buried tension spilling into the open dot. Tai leaned back, folding her arms, satisfied. "See," she said softly, almost to herself, but loud enough for the cameras to catch. "The truth always comes out." As the meeting spiraled, chants of betrayal and shouts of denial filled the air. Chantel revealed details no one expected. How Evelyn had once confided in her about loneliness, about needing connection, about blurred boundaries between friendship and something more. Her words were raw, almost too raw, and the crowd gasped. "You told me things you never told anyone else," Chantal cried. "And now I'm the one being crucified for it." Evelyn shot up from her seat, her hands trembling with rage. "Don't twist my pain into something it wasn't. Don't you dare make it sound like there was more than what it was. You know better, Chantal. You know damn well nothing happened." But the look in her eyes betrayed something, a flicker of guilt. Or maybe fear that only fueled more speculation. By the end of the session, nothing was resolved. Chantal left in tears. Evelyn stormed out without another word, and Tai walked away with a smile that said she had accomplished exactly what she wanted. The audience was left with more questions than answers. And the producers knew they had captured television gold. Outside the studio, fans and critics tore the women apart. Online hashtags trended for days, with users choosing sides in what had become a full-blown war. Hashtag Team Chantel battled against hashtag Stand with Evelyn, while Tai's supporters gleefully spread memes declaring her the queen of chaos. But beneath the noise, something darker lingered. Whispers began to circulate about who had really leaked the clip, with some insiders suggesting it wasn't Tai at all, but someone much closer to Evelyn. The idea that Tai might only be the messenger, not the mastermind, made the scandal even murkier. And in the middle of it all, Chantal disappeared from social media for nearly a week, sparking rumors that she had broken down completely or even considered walking away from the show altogether. Her silence only deepened the mystery, leaving fans desperate for answers and enemies eager to fill in the blanks with their own twisted versions of the story. By the time Chantal finally resurfaced, the narrative had shifted yet again, and the story was no longer about just a clip. It had become a question of loyalty, betrayal, and who was willing to sacrifice whom in the name of survival. The return of Chantal after her silence did not calm the storm. It only poured gasoline on the fire. When she went live again, thousands tuned in instantly, hungry for an explanation, desperate to see how she would defend herself now that weeks of speculation had painted her in every possible light. Her face appeared on screen, calm but weary. Her voice softer than before. Jay said, "I've been quiet because I needed to breathe. I needed to think about what my life has turned into. People are saying I'm guilty. People are saying I'm lying. But no one asks how it feels to be caught in the middle of something I didn't create." Her words drew sympathy from many. But the live quickly shifted when a fan in the comments bluntly asked, "Why were you in the clip with Evelyn so late at night if nothing was going on?" The question froze her for a moment, her eyes flickering with unease. She tried to explain that the clip was misleading, that the cameras caught a moment of vulnerability, not intimacy. But her hesitation was enough to spark a frenzy, with viewers flooding the chat, accusing her of hiding the full truth. As the live blew up, Tai jumped in, leaving sly comments under burner accounts that mocked Chantal's defense. Later, she openly mocked the live on her own page, saying, "You can dress up a lie in tears and shaky voices, but it's still a lie." She then hinted that she had more footage, claiming the clip you all saw was just part one. That statement alone created chaos. Fans begged her to release it. Enemies dared her to prove she wasn't bluffing. And Evelyn reportedly panicked behind closed doors. Evelyn's circle claimed she was furious at Chantal for not being stronger in her denial, blaming her for feeding into Tai's narrative instead of shutting it down. One insider revealed that Evelyn snapped at her team, screaming, "She made me look guilty by stuttering like that, okay? Now they'll believe we really had something to hide." Those close to Chantal, however, painted a different picture, saying she felt abandoned and used, believing that Evelyn was letting her take all the heat while she hid in silence. The producers, seeing the drama escalating, pushed for another confrontation on camera. This time, they invited not just the three women, but also a few other cast members who had opinions about the situation. The scene was set for fireworks, and it delivered from the moment Chantal walked in. There was tension. She barely acknowledged Evelyn, keeping her eyes fixed on the floor. Ty, on the other hand, was glowing, ready to stir the pot. The conversation began with the moderator asking if Chantal felt supported by anyone in this ordeal. She let out a bitter laugh and said, "Supported? No. I've been thrown under the bus, left out to dry, and made to look like I'm guilty of something I never did. And the one person who should have defended me the most stayed quiet." She glanced at Evelyn, and the room fell silent. Evelyn clenched her fists. "You think I stayed quiet because I don't care? I stayed quiet because I was protecting us, because the more I talked, the worse it would have looked. You don't understand the pressure I've been under." Chantal's eyes welled up, but her voice was steady. "Protecting us. Or protecting yourself, because I'm the one drowning while you hide in the shadows." The exchange stunned everyone, but Ty leaned forward with a smirk. "Finally, the truth. She said it, not me." She then pulled out her phone dramatically, waving it in the air. "And just so you know, I've got proof that this wasn't just innocent late-night talks. Should I play it now or wait for the reunion?" Gasps filled the room, and even the crew froze. Chantal's voice shook as she screamed, "You're lying. You don't have anything." But the fear in her tone made people wonder. Evelyn lunged toward Ty, shouting, "Enough. You're not going to ruin my life with your lies." Security had to intervene, dragging them apart as the scene spiraled. Out of control. Later, rumors spread that Ty never actually had more footage, but the damage was already done. Fans demanded answers, blogs ran wild with theories, and sponsors began questioning whether they wanted to be associated with the show anymore. What no one expected was Chantel's next move. Instead of waiting for Ty to release anything, she posted a cryptic message online. "Since everyone wants the truth, maybe it's time you hear it from me." Within hours, the internet exploded with anticipation. Convinced she was about to confess something explosive, when her video dropped. It was raw and unpolished, filmed on her phone with shaky hands. She admitted that the clip looked bad, but insisted nothing romantic happened. Then she dropped a bombshell. What people don't know is that Ty wasn't the only one with the footage. Someone else was recording that night too. Someone much closer to Evelyn than any of you realize. The revelation set off a firestorm, raising more questions than answers. Who was this mystery person? Why would they secretly record Evelyn and Chantal? And why would they give the clip to Ty? As speculation spread, trust among the women collapsed completely. Evelyn grew paranoid, convinced that someone in her own inner circle had betrayed her. Chantal grew more isolated, convinced that she was being set up. And Ty, watching from the sidelines, reveled in the chaos she had created, promising that the real story had yet to be told. After everything we've seen unfold, one thing is clear. This story is far from over. The late-night clip, the leaks, the accusations, and the breakdowns have left fans more divided than ever. Some believe Chantel's shaky defense proves she has something to hide, while others think Ty is manipulating the situation just to destroy Evelyn. And then there's the biggest question of all. Who else was secretly recording that night? And why would they hand the footage over? The betrayal could be coming from even closer than anyone expects. And that possibility has fans in absolute shock as emotions continue to run high. Friendships are fractured, loyalties are shifting, and the entire cast looks like it's on the edge of collapse. But where does it go from here? Will Chantal reveal the identity of the person she hinted at? Will Evelyn find out who in her circle set her up? Or will Ty finally deliver the so-called proof she keeps teasing? The tension is only building, and it feels like the next chapter could blow everything wide open. Now we want to hear from you. Whose side are you on in this messy, twisted saga? Do you believe Chantal's emotional defense? Or are you convinced Ty is right and there's more to the story than she's admitting? And how do you think Evelyn will react when she learns the truth about who really betrayed her? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because this debate is just getting started. Make sure you hit that like button if you enjoyed diving into the drama with us. And don't forget to subscribe for more shocking updates, explosive reveals, and behind-the-scenes commentary on all the chaos. Turn on notifications so you never miss a single twist, because trust me, what's coming next will leave you speechless.